Hi, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome, welcome. My name is Georgia, and we are going to get into this review of Love and Marriage Detroit, Season 1, Episode 1, titled What Up, Doe? And as we know, this is another installment to the franchise of the Love and Marriage that is produced by Carlos King and the Kingdom Reign production. So we have Love and Marriage Huntsville, which is the first installment. We have Love and Marriage DC, and we have Love and Marriage Detroit. I thought we were gonna do Love and Marriage Atlanta, but he threw us a curveball and gave us Love and Marriage Detroit. And as we know, Carlos always telling us that is he was born and raised in Detroit, so I guess he's taking it back to his hometown. And the title of this one is What Up, Doe? And it is something that Carlos is always saying. So I am here to review. Like I said, it's Season 1, Episode 1. I might struggle a little bit because we're getting to know the castmates and just getting to know everybody. So we have 3 couples that we're starting off with. We have Colby and Russell. We have Christina and Brandon, and they are titled the Power Couple. And then we have Latoya and Anthony, and this couple works together. So we start off the episode where we're meeting everybody, just getting a look at Detroit. And that's one of the reasons I like watching these shows, because it showcases the cities that they're from, and it gives us a bird's eye view of the city without having to travel there. And another reason why I'm really interested in this franchise again is because I'm really considering, and I have been talking about it for years, that's where I want to build my my real estate portfolio in Detroit, because I know Detroit has not been getting any love. I know it's the Motor City. It is known for Motown, the music city and stuff like that. And I've always wanted to travel and see Detroit. I did have family there, but since then, they've left and moved to other cities. But I still want to be able to visit Detroit and see. I even go on YouTube sometimes. You know how sometimes you watch the videos of people just riding around their city and showing places? I do a lot of that for Detroit because I really want to see what it looks like. And the person that I want to do these real estate deals with, I've been telling him, let's consider Detroit, and he's been dragging his leg. So I might have to do this one solo, but I do want to own some properties in Detroit. So that's just a little bit about me and the plans that I have going on. So back to the episode. Like I said, they're driving around, they're showcasing the place, and they're telling us a little bit about each couple. So we start off with Christina and Brandon, and we see them pulling up to the park, and they're telling us how they met. And Brandon is letting us know that he saw his wife on social media and hit her up in the DM, and they had a whirlwind romance, and they were married in a short period of time. And so far they've had 2 kids. They have 2 girls, 6 and 3 years old. They're telling us what they do for work. We have Brandon, who owns a recording studio. He said he wants to be known as the next big Motown producer. Well, not really for Motown, but he wants to be known for his music production. He doesn't really see studios in Detroit like that anymore, and he wants to be known as the huge one. And he grooms and he develops artists. I think his studio is called Park City, if I'm not Star Factory, if I'm not mistaken. And he's groom and he develop artists. And I don't think he really have an artist that hit it off big yet, but he is working on it. And he's been in that business for 17 years, he says. And, he met his wife, on social media. They have the 2 kids. And we get to find out about his wife, Christina, as well. We find out that she is a fashion social media influencer. Her brand is built around fashion, and that's what she does for work. And guys, these ladies with their brand deals, they be hitting it big. So let's not sleep on, you know, influencers. Don't look at them as if they're not doing anything, because it's a lot of work to be putting those looks together and selling it to us. So don't sleep on that. So that is Christina and Brandon. Now we have Colby and Russell. They're pulling up to the park as well. They've been married 3 years. They have an 18-month-old daughter. Colby is also an influencer and a content creator, and her brand is based around home, fashion, and family. So she calls herself, she calls her husband Superman and Clark Kent. That's how she views him. She's in love with her baby. But she lets us know that, you know, it's a lot to be taken care of her 18-month-old daughter and having to do influencer jobs, because there are times where she's just not into it. And that's how most of the content creators are. You have this, your creative juices flowing, and then there are times when you're like, hit it, you know, you're like, what am I going to produce? So she runs up against that kind of roadblock sometimes, but that's what it is with her. We find out that her husband Russell runs a non-profit organization. I'm tripping over my words this morning. We find out that Russell runs a non-profit organization called SOAR Detroit, and it focuses on literature and sports. And he is also an Army National Guard. So we have those two. They're also pulling up to the park. Now we see them talking and greeting each other. You know, the kids are doing their little play thing and just greeting each other. And we find out that the event that they're doing is a Father's Day barbecue. So that's why they're at the park. They have hired a chef. He's grilling, and they're at the table talking. And then we find out that Colby and Christina have been friends. They're in the same kind of business, influencers, you know, content creators. So their brand kind of, you know, emulates the same thing: fashion, family, home, stuff like that. So we found out that they are friends for the past 3 years. Now we're meeting the third couple. We have Dr. Latoya and Anthony. So Latoya is a sports physical therapist, and along with her husband, they also own a brand of wine called Opulence Wines. And aside from that, they have 3 kids. Anthony works for Live Nation. If you don't know what Live Nation is, let me think. I think that company is associated with, it's a shame that I don't know what Live Nation. I've heard of it, but I don't know how to explain it. But Live Nation, he works with Live Nation, and he also has a production studio. We find out that they met in college, and they've been married for 14 years, and they have 3 kids. We also find out that Brandon and Anthony know each other from being in the business, because remember, Brandon has a recording studio, and Anthony also have a production studio. So they're kind of in the same type of business. We also find out that Latoya, who is Anthony's wife, Dr. Latoya, who's a sports physical therapist, know each other because they're sorority sisters. Okay? So that's the tying for everybody knowing each other. Of course, we'll talk about it more as we go on in the season. So now the men, everybody is sitting and they're eating now. They're talking, and the men are having a conversation. Apparently, there was a trip to Vegas, and Brandon was supposed to go, and he didn't go. And he was talking to his friend John about it, like, you know, how was Vegas? And Russell was like, so why didn't you go? And he's like, my wife didn't want me to go. So now we're sitting at the table, and Anthony was like, I don't know about that. I'm going to need you to join my men movement class, man, because, you know, that ain't cool. What do you mean? She didn't let you go. Did you ask? Did you have to ask her, or did you tell her you were going? And she was just looking at him. Christina was just looking at him from across the table like, you better not. The way she was looking at him, poor Brandon couldn't even open his mouth. So Anthony says, you know what? I'm gonna plan a trip and it's just gonna be for guys only. And then Christina was like, are you telling us or are you asking us? And Anthony was like, remember, Anthony's wife is Latoya and Christina is Brandon's wife. So Christina was like, are you telling us or you asking us? And Anthony was like, I ain't asking nothing. I ain't asking nothing. So they got into the conversation as far as, you have to ask your wife, to go places. He's like, no, not really. But what I do is, when I do talk to her about it, I have to get 21 questions. So by the time we get to the 20th question, I don't even want to go no more. So Christina says, well, past behavior, based on past behavior, that's why, I have to ask 21 questions. So they let that one brush by. I think she said that in the confessional. She didn't say that at the table, because I know she said it at the table, then there would have been a lot more questions. So she said that in the confessional. So now we have them, they leave them at the table, talk about, we planning this trip. It's going to be for guys only. It's going to be good to get away, just like how you girls have your girls trip. We guys are going on a guys trip and we're going to have a good time. It's just going to be for the weekend. We're not going too far. And he's going. All right. So we leave them there at the park. That's the introduction to everybody. We see everybody with the kids, husbands, wives, kids, and, one friend so far. A friend of the show so far, which is John, who is a friend of Brandon. All right. So now we have Colby and Christina. They are meeting up at a little gym for the kids. They're saying they're bringing the kids so they could play and get all their energy out so that they could wind down later on. So they're telling us the similarities between these two ladies. Like I said, with Colby is a content creator and an influencer, and so is Christina. They are also preachers' kids, they're saying. Of course, these are the similarities amongst them. They are wives and also mom. And we have Christina, who is 10 years Colby's senior, so she looks at her like a little sister. And they mesh that way, so they're considered friends. We have Christina telling Colby that, or is it Colby telling Christina? I think it's Christina telling Colby that, she's been a full-time mom now for 7 years and she feels like she need a break. She's like, it's hard to actually get up. She's like, how is it going for content creation with you? And she's like, it's kind of hard because there are days when I don't feel like doing anything. So they're talking to each other about taking breaks, about taking time for themselves. She's like, I'm a full-time mom. I feel like I have to be there to make sure everybody's taken care of and I don't have time for myself. So they spoke to each other on that level and to be support for each other. And we have Colby telling Christina that you're a great mom. Don't feel that you're not doing because you don't feel like you're appreciated. So they complimented each other on that aspect. All right. Now we have Christina and Brandon. We see Brandon in the studio. Like I said, he's had the student for 17 years. He does artist development and vocal training. So we see him in the studio with an artist in the booth. She sings. She has a beautiful voice. Her name is Nisha, I believe. She sounds great and she is a beautiful artist. So now we have Christina calls in to check in. And Brandon just seems annoyed. Like, okay, yes, why are you calling me? Christina's like, I just want to know what time you're going to be home because I haven't heard from you all day. As my husband, you're supposed to check in. He gets annoyed. He gets short with her and tells her like, listen, I'm working. I'm out here working. I'll check in. I'll see you when I get home. He's like, now you've killed my vibe. You've killed my flow. There was no need to call and stuff like that. I mean, he said it to her about 3-4 times. And I'm like, after the first time, girl, I would have been off that phone. Like, who are you talking to? I'll be off that phone and down to the studio. But no, she kept him on the phone a little bit. And by the time that the conversation was over, he was like, I'm not even in the zone no more. um, she was like, well, you need to come home. This is them going back and forth from the phone call to the confessional. He's saying that when he comes home, he don't feel love. You need to make me feel more loved and appreciated. And she was like, well, if you were home more, then you would get all that treatment. And he's saying that, well, when I do come and the time that I'm home, I don't get it. So they were going back and forth. They were at an impasse. They finally, I don't know, I think they just decided to just stop talking about it because they were just going back and forth regarding that. So that's how that scene ended. When he was on the phone with her, with Christina, Brandon told his artist Niger to just take a break, go get some water or whatever. I thought she was going to go outside and allow him to have the conversation. But no, she was standing right there in the mirror doing her little dance, perfecting her, looking at herself, making sure her steps were good, her form, her stage form and stuff like that. She was not leaving out of there. And also, Brandon did not tell Christina that he had a new artist. He said he didn't feel like it was the right time to tell her. And I'm like, what? Why wouldn't you tell your wife if this is a business that you two are doing together? Something's not, what they say, something in the milk is not good. I don't know what the saying is, but something's about to come down the pipe. And of course, we found out towards the end of the episode. So, yep, he didn't tell his wife that he has a new artist. And even when she was on the phone, he didn't even tell her. That long time that she was on the phone questioning him, he did not tell her, I'm in the studio with somebody new. So we're going to get to find out why. All right. So now we leave Christina and Brandon. Here we are with LaToya and Anthony. And we see Anthony at the gym working out with his son. He's telling us that his son is talented at, I believe he said, football and baseball. And then we have LaToya come. They are talking a little bit about the wine company and the fact that they have travel coming up. They both have to travel to Napa to meet with someone at the winery. And also that Anthony needs to travel to Atlanta for work. And they let us know that the last time he traveled to Atlanta, they almost got a divorce. Why? Because it was during COVID, just at the start of COVID. He had an opportunity to work with Disney, I believe. And he wanted to be gone and leave her with the 3 kids. And like she said, during that time, she had to work inside of the hospital. So having to do work inside of the hospital, having to do, the kids were doing virtual learning, and then having to be taken care of, that was a rough time for everybody. But on top of that, as a healthcare worker, having to deal with all that and having to come home, with the stress of knowing that, listen, I may be bringing this home to my family, and I have to make sure that I'm wearing the proper PPE to make sure I don't transfer anything to my family. And with him gone, she said it was a lot on them. So he had to come home every single day. He said he had to go back and forth. And I'm wondering, what is travel like for between Detroit and Georgia? I didn't even look that up before I started this video. I'm going to pin it in the comments, how long it takes to drive back and forth, or maybe he had to fly. I don't know how he was commuting, but he had to commute daily. He said, if not, she told him straight up, if you don't come back up in this house, you won't have a wife or a family no more. So he made sure he did what he had to do to make sure that everything worked. And I'm guessing, did they have any extended family that could help them out? And that's the thing. In that time, remember, everybody was in lockdown. So if you're locked down as an extended family with her family, you couldn't even go back to your family. So that was a stressful time, I'm sure. So yeah, that is LaToya and Anthony just giving us a little bit more glimpse into their lives. And they have this slogan that they call themselves Team Thompson, which is their last name. To say, I've been here 14 years. We're going to get through this and we're going to keep moving together, dude. All right. Now we're back over here with Christina and Brandon. It so happens that it is their 11-year anniversary. I believe Brandon said he didn't think they would make it past 5 years, but he's doing something really nice for his wife for the 11-year anniversary. He's having a picnic at a lavender farm. So it is really set up beautifully. They're set up outside. I know that they had little bugs flying around because you see everybody waving their hands over their food like, don't come over here, bugs. But he set up the picnic, and it's with their friends. So the other two couples are there as well. They have a singing group doing a serenade. I mean, the music was beautiful. The setting was gorgeous. It was at sunset. It was just a beautiful setting. I'm like, wow, this is gorgeous. So then they have prepared meals. They didn't do any cooking there. They had prepared meals in the picnic basket. They gave out the food and stuff. And I believe a statement was made by one of the wives. She was like, I thought I was getting salmon. And her husband, like that, I think that was and Russell and Kobe. And Kobe was like, I thought I was getting salmon. And Russell was like, nah, babe, you go eat what I eat. And with that, Anthony was like, you see, he's been attending my class. He's making sure he stands up to you. So, of course, Kobe took that, they laughed it off a little bit, but they addressed it a little bit later on where, Kobe is trying to label Anthony as being a male chauvinist because of the way he's behaving. I believe the ladies feel that, they're working well in their relationships with their husband. Yet this man is telling them, you need to stand up for yourself and lead the family. So he was like, they've been attending my man's movement. So Kobe was like, explain to me, what is this man's movement? So he said that the core takeaway from the man movement, for lack of a better word, is that, you're building faith. They're leading their families. They influence other young men. And they're just a basic support group for men. And Kobe was like, Christina said that, I don't think that's the case. I think, this isn't her confessional, she's saying it to her husband, Brandon. I think that Anthony is promoting male chauvinists. And Anthony was just sitting there looking at her like, I don't know what to say. He probably agreed with him, but he didn't want to come out and say it because Christina was not about to let up on Brandon if he's starting with that. So Anthony at one point said to Christina regarding Brandon, don't hold him back. He's trying to, he goes out to the club in order to probably meet new artists or just network with, other people that's in the business that could get him to the next level. But because of your behavior, you might hold him back. So Christina was like, well, given the history, and everybody's like, history? What are you talking about history? It don't sound like we talking about music no more. So then I believe it was Kobe who said something about, you're being in the studio with a new artist, and we have Russell over here. Girl, keep your toes over here. Keep your toes over here. Don't be talking. Keep your toes over here. Don't be talking about nothing. So we have Christina looking at Brandon like, a new artist. What is she talking about? So apparently, a few days before that, we had Brandon and Russell playing pool. And he told Russell that he has a new artist that he's working with, but he has not told his wife. And Russell didn't know, he wasn't supposed to tell. No, he did tell Russell that, Christina don't know, so you don't say nothing. But of course, as husband and wife, they do pillow talk. So of course, Russell told Kobe, his wife, but did not tell Kobe, don't mention it because Christina don't know. So here we are at the picnic. We are at Christina's and Brandon's 11-year anniversary picnic. We have Kobe telling, just talking about it in front of Christina. And this is how Christina found out that her husband is working with a new artist. Of course, she's upset about it. She was like, why is it that I'm finding this out at my 11-year at my anniversary picnic? We have LaToya just sitting there sipping on her wine. We have Anthony just looking like, oh my God, what is going on? So she was like, well, given the history, what we've been through. And then she goes in the anniversary and tell us that Brandon has stepped out before, he had an emotional connection with another one of his artists, and it could have gone further. I mean, what's an emotional connection? Well, he cheated. Um, he cheated? They didn't say cheat. She said emotional connection. What's an emotional connection? I need to Google that too, because we need to know what it is. So apparently there's been issues in the marriage before, and maybe that's why he didn't tell her, because Nija is such a beautiful young lady that, you know, he might cross the line again. And we have Christina being very upset. And then Brandon is trying to defend himself, like, you're really upset over some paperwork. And he's also giving Russell the side eye, like, dude, did you really just open your mouth and get me in trouble? Now it's gonna be bad for me. So Christina started, she was getting upset, she was crying. And Brandon was like, come on, let's go talk over here. And that is where the episode ended. So we are still at the picnic, you know, and we have an upset Christina. We have a big mouth Kobe. Well, she didn't know she wasn't supposed to say anything. Even though her husband was telling her, keep your toes over here. Girl, listen to me. You're going to get me in trouble. So that's where we are with it. So that is the introduction we have of the Love and Marriage Detroit crew. Season 1, episode 1, titled, What Up, Though? So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. This looks like it's going to be an interesting franchise so far. We're still in Love and Marriage Huntsville. We're at episode 13, where it's finally getting good. We have Melody actually addressing things on social media, whereas before she was just letting things slide. She wasn't saying nothing. But now that the custody case is over, she could speak, and she is. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to cover all of that. And we're going to keep watching Love and Marriage Detroit and see where it goes. So, yeah, that is it, guys. I do thank you for watching this video. As I said before, subscribe to the channel, like this video, share if you will. And until next time, as always, take care of yourselves and your families. Bye-bye.